Okay, people, today let's take a probably not so quick look at some of the figures from the Big Bad Workshop Fresh Monkey Fiction Operation Monster Force Season 0 and 2. And woo, it is good to get more Monster Force in hand because it's been about a year since Season 1 hit. We got the Kill Award somewhere in between that time, but man, getting more new individual characters and then more troopers to add to this collection, so happy. Now, this isn't the whole Season 0 and 2. There's still Halloween Boy, Phantom Corps Trooper, Delta Red, and the standard version of Lieutenant Griffin, the Eraser. But I've got a couple of the convention exclusive versions of that figure, and him being in Smoke Invisible and Donner Party Purple Vision, that I'm good with these for now. But you know I'm gonna be waiting for the rest of the series because so good. This time around, we're looking at the Aerial Assault Sleepwalker, the Apophis Legion Undead Phantom Corps Trooper. Yes, I'm reading the sides of the packages as I go. The Apophis Legion Counter Terrorism Unit Trooper, the Blackwatch Agent, Dr. Caligari, General Brown, and then the Donner Party. That's probably the one I've been wanting the most. I also got the Blackwatch Agent Head Pack and the Delta Red Nocturnal Operations Zombie Defense Loadout. So once we get to the Agent, we'll take a look at that. And we may start with this because that goes back to Season 1 and the Delta Reds. The packaging has changed up a bit since Season 1. There, the whole front was a promo image. Here, they've kind of framed it in, leaning more into that book type aspect. On the sides are the names, the numbers, same thing on the other side. On the bottom, there is the barcode and the caution warning, small parts. Don't put the monster toys in your mouth. On the back, there's promo images for each, but depending on which season it is, Season 0 has A New Threat is Rising, and then here, I'm gonna get closer in case you want to pause it and read all that. And then Season 2 has A Dark Escalation Begins and the continuing story. Something else I'm noticing this time around, Season 1 had Velcro holding this front flap shut. This has magnets. Ooh, it's so choice. It's more elegant. It's downright fancy. You open it up, you see the character, the figure with part of the accessories. As we learned the first time around, there are baggies back behind that hold a lot more stuff. And then each individual character has a comic page on the inside. So as we go along, we'll take a quick look at that. I'm gonna start with the Apophis Legion because they're troopers and they share body parts, which probably goes back to figures that are already released, but it's changed up for this. So I'll probably go through one trooper and then the changes, the colorway, everything else for the other trooper. That way, you get full figure review, and then boom, hit this one real fast. It may be kind of the same for Dr. Caligari and the Aerial Assault Sleepwalker, and then the Agent and the General share some parts too. Oops, I forgot we were starting with the Delta Red Nocturnal Operations Zombie Defense Loadout Pack. And it's essentially just a bunch of goodies to deck out your Delta Reds. We got this smoke effect and then these blasts in Series 1, but it's nice to see them again. You can never have too many blast effects. I don't think we got this rifle though. I have no clue when it comes to guns, but it's got the shotgun strapped underneath, and yes, you can even pull this out and there's some brass paint there. I love that little detail. Then there's this, and I'm not even sure if this is a real world gun. Maybe it is, but it looks badass. It's got that chainsaw grip to it with some guard, and then this grip that comes up and over. This has options though. You can unplug this off the bottom, which I'm assuming is the ammo because it goes through there and then into here maybe. Then you can swap in this, which I think is a grenade launcher of some kind. It still has the ammo can, or whatever the proper term for that is. Put that there, and then there's even a snap on the front to secure it on. There is a shotgun attachment. Again, same thing, plug it there, good to go. But I think my favorite is the actual chainsaw. I made the joke that this grip looks like a chainsaw. Hey, might as well go full bore with it, huh? Shooting and chainsawing through zombies, it only makes sense. There's also another reload for this, and I'm not sure if it's the same thing. I guess maybe to have diorama stuff, just have it laying on the ground. There's this pistol that seems to be smaller than Wave 1's pistols. This riot shield's pretty badass with the sculpt work on it and this dry brush on top to give it a wear and tear look. And then the top is actual clear. The grip is separate in the package, so it's easy enough just to throw on. Then there's a rectangle hole and a peg on the inside. So line those up, plug it together. Riot shield. Dun, 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 dun. If you want to use it on the back, there's also this piece that plugs on and pegs, and then you can just store it back here. Yeah, okay. There's a beret that I am going to try on this head before we get too much further into it, and that works. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to fall off, but it stays. Then there's also this helmet that... Okay, that works too. I was afraid the ears were going to get in the way, but no. To change things up, there's also this alternate head in this with a neck, because on the Delta Reds, they were black. So I'm going to pull that out and just plug this right in. Behind the camera strength! Gives it a completely different look. I mean, between these two heads, if you had two bodies, then... soldiers. Then there's attachments for the helmet. There's this mask piece with, looks like headphones of some kind. Is a bit difficult to get plugged in because these are both soft materials. So you're kind of fighting the peg and the hole going in. It's definitely easiest to have the helmet on the head because it gives it a hard surface behind the helmet that you can push against. And the mask changes things up even more. And yep, you saw the hole on the front of the helmet. That is for some night vision goggles that do flip down in front of the eyes. And then lastly, another helmet option is to have the ear covers without the mask part. But I'll show that off here in a minute because the other troopers come with this same helmet setup. So yeah, options. Now we'll get into the Apophis Legion Undead Phantom Corps Trooper with another look at that inside flap, so you can pause and read the comic. The name of the game when it comes to Monster Force and BigBadWorkshop in general is reuse, but it's very creative because a lot of it isn't super apparent when you first look at the figure. And this trooper is no different in parts because there has been some modification to some of the parts to make it more zombie-like. Bringing Delta Red back in again, you can see that the biceps are reuse and the belt part, the overlay, the torso cover just has different options because these unplug. We'll go over that here in a minute. Same right leg at the hip, upper leg, the knee pads on both sides. But like I said, obvious newer parts or modified parts. Here at the right shoulder, you can see some gruesomeness showing through. Then there's some meat and some tissue down on the lower right arm. I think both lower arms are new sculpt because all the first wave has like gear there. Bracers, some kind of armor piece, bare forearm. I don't think any of them have just sleeves, and I think it's the same for the lower legs where the pants are on the outside of the boot. Oops, I just looked over at Declan Van Helsing, and yes, there's your pants sculpt. It has the same wrinkles, it just has the camo paint over it, but that side is obviously changed. That gloss red is just so blood-like. Left shoulder also has some slashes and some decay outside of the left bicep. Again, is that a bite of some kind? And while we've looked at the blood and everything, there's nothing more zombie than the head. There's the lips missing. Maybe he gnawed them off himself, or maybe whenever other zombies turned him, they chewed off his lips and tore up his face a bit. And then you have that grayish, decayish, dead skin tone. But after you get past the bloody open wounds, you start looking at the other paint apps, mostly the camo of the uniform, and man, there is a lot of paint hits here. I mean, sure, it's a lot of straps. There's the green with the buckles painted silver under the arm, which is just one of my favorite things. The pouches, the hooks hanging down, each individually painted silver, the belt buckle, the shells across here, the shells going up with the reds and the brass. These vials, whatever these are, some kind of supernatural element, and then this with a band around it. The holster with the greens and the browns and the two-tones to the knee pads with the dark wash on it. In fact, everything kind of has a dirtiness to it, but yeah, that camo, it's so natural feeling that you nearly miss it right off the bat. You think, oh, It's a military trooper. Okay, he's supposed to have camo. Okay, that is pretty sweet. It makes you want several of them. Not just because of this, but because of the options when we get to accessories. After we take a look at articulation. At the top of the neck, there is a ball joint with a hinge under it and then a ball at the base. That allows for some excellent up and some awesome down and great tilt too. Butterfly joint at the shoulder goes back, goes forward, pin coming out to the shoulder rotates all the way around with a hinge that goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow goes up to about right there. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge. Oh, up and down on a weapon wielding hand. There is a dumbbell joint mid-torso and a ball at the waist. With the gear on, can still crunch a bit thanks to the ball waist, arc back, tilt, rotation. Drop down hip that allows the ball at the hip to kick up that far and then back and out. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee goes up that far. Swivel on the left ankle. On the right, there's nothing because of this sculpt work. There's no break point. But there's also not a pant cuff to come down over the right foot to allow the hinge to go that far and front-facing pin for rocker. The pant cuff on the left does get in the way, goes back that far and forward that far. For accessories out of the package, there are 2 trigger finger gloved hands, there's 2 gloved open hands, 2 gloved grip hands, and 2 gloved fists. I usually leave the double trigger finger hands here because it works for both pistols and rifles, but it's easy enough just to pull those out, put a grip hand in the left, and then you can hold the knife. Spoilers, there's a knife. But if you want to go even more zombie, there are 2 ungloved trigger finger hands that show some blood and that same skin tone. And then there's 2... Diving even further into that trooper aspect, you can pop the top, or well, I would say the top. You can pop the head off the neck and then put on this alternate behind the camera. Right. There's this alternate head with a beard and even more, well, actually, something sliced off the side of his face and then a hole up here and then more just bloody parts showing through. Oh, he's missing the nose too. There's choices to be made here. Comes with this rifle, all in black. Bit of a silver or gray dry brush on top. Pop the details. The chest gear holds the gun away from being held perfectly against the shoulder, but still not... Comes with the same blast effects we talked about earlier. Again, can never have enough of these. That fits right into the barrel, no problem whatsoever. Or maybe just got done shooting and still hot. Comes with a pistol that is more like Series 1. And of course there's a holster right there. Comes with a knife with a black blade and a brown grip. And there's also a sheath for that is green that you can put away. And again, like Series 1 and the reuse from Series 1, you can swap some of the pouches and chest gears, and when there are holsters or leg straps, you can pop these pegs into here, like putting the knife there or whatever you want to do. But I'm putting this back on there because I wanna. You can also swap off this Phantom Core piece with something more blank and bloody. And then the same helmet gear we got in the build-up pack a minute ago. There is the helmet itself with the camo to match this trooper, which again is a lot of paint app. And then there's the mask piece with the ear covers and I guess a light of some kind that plugs in. You have the 2 head covers for the ears that plug just separately, and then the vision to plug in the front. Then of course there's the nifty Monster Force base that you can either use as a stand because it has foot pegs, help the figure stand if it needs it. It's not that big a deal. Or you can use it as a gravestone. At first I thought this gap right here was for some kind of cardboard backdrop, which is included in the package, kind of nifty, but that's not actually a slot. It's just another piece plugged on. So I guess you could do this if you wanted to, and then have kind of a display for it. Next up, like I said, we'll go into the Apophis Legion Counterterrorism Unit Trooper. Yes, I have to keep reading that, but here is the comic on the inside of that flap. This is this in a different color scheme and a different accessory loadout. Like I mentioned, you can swap things out on the chest gear, and that's what happened here. There's the grenades, or I think those are grenades, and the walkie-talkie with the cable running back, making it look like it goes there, and then just pouches instead of the full pouch, big thing sticking out. Other than that, it's the same belt, same pants, same battle damage. They did change this up slightly. At first I thought, wait, is that a different sculpt? But no, the blood just goes out further from the wound. Same knee pads, same boots, same kick to the right leg. Same. But does look different. I mean, again, it's the good troops turned to bad troops and thrown back at the good guys. So different units, different special teams. This one's blue, this one's camo. And there is one other big difference that changes things up. Now, it does include alternate heads, which matches the trooper we just looked at, just in a different color scheme, or well, different hair color here. And the beard's much more prominent when it's red or orangish. Did change the wound on the side of the head. This one seemed to be showing some skull. This one's still bloody, still fresh. And then this one is, well, it's pretty dang close to the first one, just with a slightly darker skin tone, which is why it comes with its own neck piece. It's like when we swapped the Delta Reds earlier. It's just another look. In fact, you could probably take this and one of these heads, if you wanted to use the red head on this trooper, you could swap out the neck itself. Even though the skin tones aren't that different, I wouldn't gripe about that being on that. So, now I've mixed them up. Which one's which? There's too many options. But I'm probably going to leave it like this simply because this. Now, I probably won't use this a lot in my G.I. Joe display, but I'll be damned if it wouldn't look sweet, either on a battlefield or as a zombie trooper of some kind. Cobra Commander is not paying me enough to deal with this. It's a mask of some kind that's been torn up in places, has some dead skin showing through. There's an eye completely missing, and then the mask is broken to show some mouth. Is this gonna... Okay, it does fit. So I was gonna say, surely it doesn't fit, but... No, it goes on there. And the blues are slightly, ever so slightly darker and maybe grungier. But the Monster Force is a bit bigger. And that's really all I got here. I'm not going to go over articulation because we just did with the Trooper. And again, same figure. And most of the same accessories, which... when you get down to it, is quite a bit. 2 open gloved hands, 2 gloved fists, 2 gloved grips, 2 ungloved trigger finger hand, 2 ungloved zombie chasing hands. The helmet we've seen a couple times now in blue. And yeah, here I do have the single ear covers attached. And it does work just fine over the masked head. But it also has the ear covers attached to the mask piece. And here it's red, which would really pop against the blue, I feel like. Even better. There is a beret that, yep, it does fit the masked head, but it does fit a bit better on the unmasked head. Like the previous trooper, you can swap this plate out here, but the alternate piece has the same logo on it. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be different, or maybe I got one that threw in 2 of these, or maybe you take this and put it on other figures. Something. Got the same pistol with red on it to go with this color scheme. Same knife, silver blade this time around, and then a sheath in black. Oh, forgot about the goggles, the night vision for the helmet. Same blast effects again. Different rifle from the other figure, which again changes things up. I like that. Then there's this radio with a little detail to it and a holster for it. And it does have its own individual backdrop out of the package. This is a devastated city on fire. Again, I love the 2 colors, the blues and the oranges, and then a stand that is just slightly different color from the first stand. I feel like doing the Sleepwalker Aerial Assault Trooper next. So here's a quick look at that page. And where to start? It's another bad guy trooper, but there's so much more to this one. Well, okay, it does use a lot of parts from Season 1 Sleepwalker, but that makes sense. They're both part of the same unit, just... one flies. Same arms with the texture up here on the shoulders with a seam line separating that from the sleeve, the wrinkles, the natural feel, until it gets down to gloves that cover that up, and there's more seam lines with a kick down. Same thing down at the legs, under the lower jackets. There's this seam line running down and around. Didn't paint this one because this is completely covered by the longer jacket. But then pants, down to some plain boots. There is a bit more grime to the new one though, pops that detail. Different jackets over the torsos, and in the package I thought, well, no, it's the same overlays, but then there's straps over this one that are removable or you can swap them out. But no, that's actually integrated into this new jacket. The same design work with the skull and crossbones, nicely tampoed in there. And then the lower jackets are obviously different. These have some pockets and much shorter. It's also different heads. Same basic design element, kind of that welding helmet look with separated eyes and the glowing green. Well, it doesn't actually glow, but you can imagine it glowing, right? Looks like some holes to hear through, and then some white stripes painted up on top, a little patina to it, a rusty metal. Again, with the dirt coming up from landing maybe, or blasting off. These are definitely part of the overlay, and you can't pull them off without damaging. Plus, there's not any extras. But here, you can pull off, yeah, it's plugged. You can pull off the control panels, which getting up close, look at the paintwork, the greens and the reds and the switches and the toggles and everything. That is nifty. Same thing on this. Oh, well, okay. It's actually the same piece, just flipped upside down. You tricked me, BigBadWorkshop. You tricked me. One of my favorite things, I always bring it up and I have to point it out when I see it, buttons with little silver dots on them. Yeah, that just, I love it. This left bicep strap is a overlay piece that you can pull off, but I'm gonna leave it on there because it's got a logo and some red. It adds a little something. And really that's it. It's guy in trench coat, uniform, and a helmet, which, hey, it works. And there's also options, as always. But first, articulation. There is a, well, okay, that comes off at the neck. There is a ball at the top of the neck going up into the head. There's a hinge below that, and then a ball joint going into the body. Can look up, which is good for a flying character, and then can look down. Oh, an excellent tilt. Butterfly joint at the shoulder goes back, goes forward, and that jacket is soft enough to get out of the way. Pin coming out to the shoulder, rotates all the way around with a hinge that goes to there. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow, detents a little stuck out of the package, but still goes all the way up. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge up and down on a trigger finger hand. No way to take the upper body off, which, it's the uniform, it wasn't meant to be swappable, but I'm assuming that there is a cut at the torso and then a ball at the waist. Yeah, it feels like there's some extra movement, but it crunches that far, arcs back, tilt, rotation. A little bit of drop down, and that bends up. That soft material allows for this, and then back and out. There is a swivel at the thigh. Double knee, let's do it out to the side and then move it back in, about that far. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories out of the package, 2 trigger finger hands, then there are 2 open hands, 2 grip hands, and then 2 fists. But for the moment, I'm gonna leave the trigger finger hands in because there's also some shooting weapons that we saw with Season 1. There's this pistol with kind of a glowy green effect painted on there, and then there is a rifle with the same thing. Little wood, little metal, little burn marks on the end, and then that neon green. Very sci-fi. Where the troopers are just shooting bullets at you, these guys, the Sleepwalkers, there's a supernatural element. And that goes even further when you add the blast effects. Again, there are the regular gun effects, the 3 blasts, the smoke, but then there are these that are much more electrical feeling. That one's got a hole in it. Oh, did I know the first time around that these actually double up? Or did I just go, well, there's a hole in it, I guess that's for something else? But you plug that one through that one and then plug that into there, and it's much more full, much more. Then we get into the jetpack, because this is an aerial assault unit and very Rocketeer-like, but also fits the design of Monster Force and this character. That's where this comes in, because it has a bigger peg than the rest of those other effects. So put that in there, and because of the hinge at the neck piece, which I absolutely love, can look where he's going. We saw these hoses with Series 1. I think it was the Sleepwalkers, actually, because they came with things that could power up, like this port on the side of the rifle. You can plug this in and then run it back to a port on the side of this, maybe, if you wanna. That one's not long enough. Thankfully, there's 2 sizes of hose. There is this one, and there is a longer one. Well, 2 of the longer, 2 of the shorter. Maybe this is a generator of some kind to power the weapon too. There's also a port on this side, and there is a hole in the back of the helmet, so you can also kind of do that, maybe? These cartridges on the side of the face also come off, so maybe you can do something like that for helping breathe at high altitudes. You are limited only by your imagination. But then Fresh Monkey took it even further and expanded on the troop building potential by giving us werewolf parts to swap in. That's why I didn't mind the neck popping at the bottom, because this other head comes with a furry neck. Oh, but it's not just that. There's also werewolf trigger finger hands and werewolf clawing hands. Put the jetpack back on, and there you go. Werewolf jetpack trooper. And I love the sculpt of this head. The fur, the bluish tint to it, the eyes peering out, the fangs, the tongue, the long ears. Oh, I love the Sleepwalker look, but man, I also really love a good-looking werewolf. And that's a good-looking werewolf. Options killing me, but in a good way. God dang, I love this line. Of course, there's the Monster Force base, and then, again, a unique backdrop inside the package with a destroyed citadel? Clock tower? Something. I feel like that segues nicely into Dr. Caligari. 1, because of the body used here, and 2, this finishes off the villains. After this, we'll get into the good guys. Makes sense. And reiterating how much I love this line, look, it's a guy that's a brain in a jar. Now, that's not a completely original concept in and of itself, but man, it makes for a kick-ass action figure here. Bringing the Season 1 Sleepwalker in again, Caligari uses even more parts of it. Again, with the arms, the details coming down to gloves, and then the legs underneath here with the seam lines running down over the hip, and then down to some fairly plain boots. This time around, though, much shinier and cleaner. But then bringing the Aerial Assault Trooper in again with the werewolf parts. You want to look some more? Oh, so sweet. But same armband and same lower jacket. The gray pockets and the red trim and the gold buttons do enough to change things up. But then again, the straps are integrated into the new torso there. Bringing this Sleepwalker back, this is the same torso overlay. Grays trimmed in red, black. Yeah, it changes. Much more regal looking. And did I mention there is a brain in a jar up top? There's some gold accents to the silver here and there just to spruce things up around on the back. And then there's the brain with the pinks and the ooey gooiness. Like the riot shield, that is a clear plastic. That's a sculpt inside, and then this is glued down to the base. For the most part, it's what we talked about with this guy, just in a different color scheme and made to be more individual. This is a named character, so it's not as troop buildery. Skipping articulation and jumping to accessories because, again, it's the same figure we just looked at. Out of the package, there are 2 trigger finger hands. And then it's the same array of alternate hands that we've been looking at this whole video. There's the open hands, there is the grip hands, there is fists, but then there is pointer. And I feel like this fits this character in some way. I don't know what he sounds like, but in my head, it sounds very, you will go here. And then, yeah. Also comes with the same pistol we just looked at with the green glowing underneath. That seems a bit darker though. Maybe it's not as charged up as this. And the sights aren't painted on either. Interesting. It does have the same stackable electricity blast effect. But I don't think I'll have him holding a pistol. Like my mental image of this character, pointer finger and suitcase full of unknown materials. The handle does swing back and forth on a hinge. And then I can open the suitcase and show these 2 canisters. If you take these out and open them up or pull the end out, it may be a little familiar.
Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
And I gotta think both of them do that. Yeah, that one has the little green beads in it too. Oh, I was gonna say they don't come apart, but you can pull those out. That is amazing. Just when I thought I could not love this line anymore. There's my display. Just like that. Do not touch the suitcase. Of course, there's a stand, and then his backdrop has the round window again, but much more of a lab setup. Getting into the heroes, we're going to start out with the Blackwatch Agent, which pulls double duty. You can have agent or some shadow ghoul action. All right, first impression, you think it's dude in suit with sunglasses. So exciting. But there is more going on here. And I'm not talking about just accessories, I'm talking about the joints. I was given the heads up that they did go back to the drawing board when it comes to the elbows and the knees. And now that I have one in hand, I can definitely see and feel the difference. Looking at them up close, that's more of an import style, kind of that double in the double joint. Whereas on the figures up until this point, just has that single piece in the middle. With figures so far, there's detents, so you have that snap to it. This is smooth as all hell. Just look at, oh yeah, just up and down, with no looseness. There is a tightness to it, but it's so buttery that it goes up and into position, wherever you want to put it. And I keep moving these. Believe me, I've done this a few times so far going, that is crazy how well that works. But I was told that they're going to be using these joints from here on out for their different lines. So yeah, bring it on. Otherwise, yeah, it's a dude in suit. It's very similar to the, Hasbro Marvel Legends Spider-Man No Way Home Matt Murdock body, at least in proportions. It is about the same height. The tie attaches at the bottom near the articulation. It's attached to the whole upper body. Don't have a lot else to say about it. The sunglasses are part of the sculpt, not removable, so there's no eyes or anything. You just have the kind of glossy black to the lenses, jet black hair, black suit, white shirt sculpted underneath. Oh, you know why this is attached here? Because this is a separate piece. That seam line's not really noticeable because where the jacket lays, but that may come into effect when we get to the general. Black jacket, black pants, silver painted on the buckle. I always love that. Seam running down the side. Shoes. You can see a lace sculpt to it, but not painted because it's just all black. It's just Secret Agent Man or Secret Service Man. Articulation-wise, there's the ball joint with the hinge underneath, and then, yes, a ball at the bottom. That gives you plenty of up and down. Very nice tilt. General, sir, I need to protect you. There is a butterfly joint back and forth. Then a pin goes around, hinge up to there. Swivel at the bicep. Again, elbow. It's so quiet. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Okay, this is just a grip hand. What do we got mid-torso? Oh, okay, there's a dumbbell joint there. And then a ball joint at the waist. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of room in the crotch area. So have some crunch there. And, well, okay, a little down there. Then arc back. Plenty of tilt side to side. Rotation. A slight drop down hip to there. Kicks up. Not shabby at all. Back, not so much. I think the butt gets in the way. Out. Not all the way, but not bad. We've taken the swivel out. But there is rotation on the... Oh, no. That's an assembly piece. See the shiny plastic? The swivel or the pin goes down, and then the leg is sculpted to come up and cover that. So there is rotation in and out. Double knee, most of the way up. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, like I showed, there are 2 grip hands out of the package. Then there's 2 splayed out hands, 2 fists, and then, of course, 2 trigger finger hands. Definitely going to need a trigger finger hand. And yes, those are hinged up and down. I just made a big deal about Caligari's pointing finger. Pistol feels the most appropriate here, so I'm going to put that there, pushing, twisting, good to go. Then there's the blast effects we've seen several times today. But if he needs to get a bit more rowdy, there's also this rifle where you can pull that out and, oh, no paint there. There is a true builder aspect whenever we get to the head pack after this, but in this package, you can either have this agent, or remember we talked about the shadow ghouls. I'm gonna pop, oh man, can I just pull? Do I need to heat this up? Oh, behind the camera string. Didn't need to heat it up. And look at that. Wait, don't look too close. We also have to swap out the hands. There are 2 clawed grasping hands. Then there's 2 appropriate trigger finger hands. Now look at that. Very shadowy with the black suit And those greenish yellow eyes popping out, the shiny black teeth that only stand out when you hit the light just right, the pointy ears, the hair slicked back. It looks mischievous, but meant to protect. I love the agent aspect of this figure, but this is right up my alley. Once again, Monster Force stand, and this background is a subway tunnel of some kind. Did I mention options for the Blackwatch Agent? And you can do even more things with it. There are different agent heads. There's brown hair, and then blonde hair, and then a darker skin tone bald head, along with the appropriate hands for that. Now, I don't know why this one comes with a neck because, oops, wrong figure. It looks like the same skin tone. In fact, it's the same sculpt, just different hair color. Unless that is meant to swap onto other figures, which makes sense. You can make those agents more geared up. Or if you want to make the troopers shadow ghouls themselves, there's the hands to go there. There's the same head that we just looked at. Come on, camera, focus. It's the same head, same paint, same everything. But then there's this other shadow ghoul head, doesn't have hair, and has its own neck again. So yeah, you don't even have to buy the agent in order to make shadow ghouls. If you got this pack, you would have alternate heads for other figures, and then this and hands to go to other figures. We have the Delta Reds. You can swap on it. Well, I mean, that's already a black neck, so that works. Get on there. Anything can be a shadow ghoul if you do some swapping. I have been waiting for General Brown because it's a general with options to make other generals. There's your comic page. Guess what? This figure is the same base body as the Blackwatch Agent. Same arms, same legs, same feet. I'm assuming the same torso underneath. I made such a big deal about this being a swappable piece, but that looks like the same tie and collar. But I can't make sure of that 100% because the general has a new torso overlay, obviously, to make it a uniform. And that is completely glued shut from the bottom to the top. But it makes sense. It's a general's uniform. This is supposed to be more military. Then here you have medals and a name tag and all of this up above. You have the stars on the epaulets. I know as much about military as I do about guns, which is not a lot at all. Hey, look, it's a general top action figure. Then the dark skin tone and the face, which is a bit recognizable, but at the same time, this can just be the general. I haven't been talking about the eye paint and such, but it has a very crisp quality to it. I love the gray to the hair and the mustache, though. Give it a little bit of age. Yeah, that looks nice. Same joints. Well, like it would. It's the same body. So we have that smoothness to the elbows going up and down and the knees. Again, not loose. It will hold position. Shake it around. It's not going to just fall into place. But I'm not going to do articulation because, again, same body. But I will point out that this being glued shut does hinder the torso a bit. You can get a little crunch and a little arc back. Little tilt, rotation. But most of the time, he's going to be standing there giving orders. Accessories out of the package, there are 2 grip hands. Then there are 2 fists, a trigger finger right and a grip left, 2 flat palms for saluting or doing whatever. And then once again, the pointing finger becomes less and less unique as we go. But again, it makes sense for a person that gives out orders all the time. There's only 1 trigger finger hand because the general only comes with this pistol. And I'm guessing it's more for show. But if he has to get down and dirty, then, oh wait, you gotta switch it to the trigger finger hand. If he has to get rowdy, then he can get rowdy. But if he needs to get more official or more dressed, then there's also this hat. The gold matches the buttons down here and then the brim, and yeah, that works. It also changed things up a bit more with different sets of glasses. There are silver rims with blue lenses, silver rims with black lenses, and then gold rims with black lenses. And the reason there's 3 options for sunglasses is because there's also some alternate heads to make other generals. There's this one that is another obvious homage. There's this one that just may make it onto my Marvel shelf. And then there's this one which I don't recognize. I feel like I've researched this before or I saw somebody comment, but I have forgotten by now. And then there's the full set of hands that match those other heads. So essentially, I need 3 more of these. Oh, fresh monkey. Almost forgot, this name tag is blank because there's decals with names on them. So whichever general head you pick, you can put the proper name on. Then there's the stand and the background. But the one I've been looking forward to the most is the Donner Party, simply because of the Frankenstein aspects, both in story and look. And if you want to know more about that, here's the comic page. Oh, and it does not disappoint, but I was predetermined to love a cowboy Frankenstein. What's not to love? All right, getting the reuse out of the way. The torso and the arms, except for the shoulder, is Declan Van Helsing. You can see the texture on the torso, and then the collar's a dead giveaway. The shoulder, I'm not sure about. The Sleepwalkers have that seam, but there's a texture. Maybe it's somebody else that I'm missing. Again, I don't have the new plane, the fully painted eraser, but I do think that's the same shoulder. It doesn't have the texture on top, has the wrinkles coming out, and a seam line running down. But again, that may be reused from something else I'm not remembering. The crotch, the legs, and then the boots underneath these new overlays is the Sleepwalker. But I love that this is painted in with that beige color. It gives it kind of a rustic, Old West feel. The gloves are new. These studs coming around, and then the seam work in the middle. I don't see any other figures with that. Then the hands are Sleepwalker again. They've just painted the knuckle duster part of them. It's the new overlays and other parts that define this figure, that make it unique. It makes it all its own. Especially these boot covers, these overlays. This is a separate piece that's just over that plain boot, and it kind of moves around. But the furry look of it with the leather wraps, yeah, it just makes it feel Old Westy. I'm going to say that several times. Hey, it looks Old West. Or outdoorsy. 2 straps crisscrossing the chest with some shoulder pads up on top. Have what looks like an old American flag bandana type thing wrapped around the upper arm. And the paintwork. There's the stars. Looks like it's bunched up in there. And then there's the red and white stripes, or well, yellowish white stripes going around the inside. What catches my eye the most, besides the obvious, is the crotch cover, the new waist overlay. And that's a belt and a belt with some gold paintwork for the buckle, with silver. I mean, look at the contrast between the gold and the silver and the little buttons punched. Again, small little details that I adore. Coming out to a holster, more gold and the black. Then these blue beads that look like, or well, they're sculpted to look like they're just kind of tucked into the belt. Kind of like an heirloom, some kind of memory. Have all these shells sculpted on the back of that belt with the paintwork, the silver going across. Going back to the memory aspect, this is really interesting. This sewn pouch on the side with kind of a embroidery look to it, and a button, and a silver medallion, and feathers hanging off, and the tassels down at the bottom. But more than anything, there's this stuffed rabbit with the sheriff's star on it. Getting this close, the beadwork, the reds and the blues going around the outer edge. Oh, that is awesome. But to really pump up that Frankenstein aspect is the head. The green skin tone, the metal plate on top of the skull, the hair sticking out the other side, the sewn together. Oh, 2 different skin tones. It's green, but this is a lighter green back here. And then, of course, there is the classic electrode, the node, the metal nub sticking out of the temple. Then the plate itself is gold. Just the overall look is interesting. Everything just works here, when it shouldn't. Old West cowboy Frankenstein. Okay, those are 2 great tastes, but do they go great together? I'm going to say, hell yeah, they do. Going over articulation, there is a, well, pretty standard for Monster Force, ball at the top of the neck with a hinge underneath, and then a ball going down into the body. You can look up and look down. Very nice tilt. Fire bad. Butterfly joint at the shoulder goes back, goes forward quite a bit. Pin coming out, rotates around. That is a rubbery material, gets out of the way. Then a hinge goes up to there. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow, oh, bit sticky, goes up that far. I was gonna say swivel at the glove, but I think that's, okay, Yep, that's definitely Declan. So swivel at the wrist with a hinge up and down on a trigger finger hand. Dumbbell joint mid-torso, ball at the waist, crunches this much, arcs back, tilt, rotation. Drop down joint at the hip, kicks forward, kicks back, kicks out. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee goes up that far. Swivel at the boot line. The furry overlay does go up a bit to get out of the way of the hinge at the ankle, going back that far, going forward. Front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories out of the package, there is, of course, the trigger finger hands. There's a set of splayed-out hands, a set of grips, and then a pair of fists. But I'm keeping the trigger finger hands because there is this rifle. Look at that. Fill your hands, you son of a bitch. There is no way that I am not using Old West weaponry. And then, of course, there's a revolver, which I could put in the hand, but this holster is too pretty. Gotta be used. And then there's this, which feels a little more modern. Not modern, but he's also been alive for quite a few years, so he would pick up other stuff along the way. There is, of course, the full array of blast effects we've looked at several times. And then there is a unique machete with some carvings to the blade, some design work, and then a red grip. And at first I thought, how the hell do I attach that? There is a trick to this. They are more narrow down here at the bottom, so start there. Once you get it on, slide it up to the thicker part, and it kind of locks in place. Then there's some soft goods, and look at the dirtiness and the blood here and there. It feels like an old rag, but not in a bad way, in the way that it's supposed to feel like an old rag. Got a hole for the head, and then there is wire running all the way around the outer edge of it, so you can bunch it up in places, make it more dynamic. With the machete on the back, I kind of want to drape it to the right side, bring it down over his arm, and kind of get this under his neck. That kind of fills him out, you know what I mean? You think of Frankenstein as kind of this lumbering beast, and Declan Van Helsing's body is slightly thin. It's thickened by these straps going around the shoulders, but then this helps even more. And maybe you can hide a metal plate under there. That would be sweet. But yeah, it just gives him even more of a out on the open range feel. Like an Old West cowboy Frankenstein. I said it again, and I regret nothing. One last stand and one last backdrop. Very appropriate for Donner Party. There's a town on the frontier, but here's his tent up here with a campfire. Fire? Bad. Size-wise, all the figures essentially stand at about 6 1/4 inches tall. Of course, there's slight variations here and there because of hats or brains in jars, but they're all about the same height, which works perfectly with lines like G.I. Joe Classified Series and Hasbro Marvel Legends, in case you want to put some generals in there or some demons or some troops, whatever. So at the end of the day, another great wave of Operation Monster Force. And this isn't even the whole wave. I still got to get a few more to be complete. Although I feel like to be complete, I'm going to need more agents, more generals, more rocket pack werewolves, and a few more troopers. Oh man, what have they done? And that's the beauty of this line. You can use it as Operation Monster Force, or you can pick and choose and throw them at other shelves. Because like I said, the General definitely has uses on the Marvel shelf, on the G.I. Joe shelf, or as the 4 generals in Operation Monster Force. Sure, there is an excellent fleshed out story that has stuck in my brain. So that means it's good, right? If I remember it. But then being jack of all trades, being useful in other lines too. I know I keep saying the same thing over and over and over, but man, this line is just amazing. Solid poses, tons of accessories with most of them, lots of paint, great sculpts, lots of reuse, yes, but it's useful reuse, you know? It's not as apparent as it would seem. So, I don't know. This is a great toy line. I don't have anything else to say, surprisingly. Bye!